Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the truth. Where today I'm gonna talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how good of a situation they are. Right now they have pick for pick for the bodies of the positions that they lost. They have the equal amount of picks. So that's really good for them. Getting into it, I decided with the first pick to go wide receiver, Keegan Coleman. He's gonna be that big body receiver that Trevor Lawrence is gonna love. He's gonna hit early, and he's gonna be a guy you can implement in the offense now and make a big impact. With the second pick, I went Chris Braswell out of Alabama. Look, this is a guy who's explosive, fast, fluid. The one great hand movements. The one knock on him is his bend. He doesn't have the best bend. This is probably going to be your number two pass rusher on your team. But at the end of the day, he's still a really good pick. I think he will make his way on a roster somehow. Um, I picked 96. I went offensive tackle. I went one of their offensive tackle backups, Blake Fisher. 6'5", 336. Big guy. Does need some work, though. I think if you can mold him right, he could probably be a tackle for you for the future. And then with the next pick, I took Jonah Ellis. This is going to be your backup outside linebacker that they need. 6'2", 247, tad bit shorter than Chris Badwell, but similar traits. He's a little bigger, and he's going to help stop the run a little bit better. But other than that, it's nothing crazy, but is also someone who you can develop for the future. A lot of these guys are people you can develop for the future. Brandon Coleman, 6'4", 320, offensive guard out of TCU is somebody who I drafted for them, who they also need a body at. Um, Look, he is he's a big guy. He's powerful. A lot of people like him at the guard spot rather than the tackle spot just because of his height. Well, because he has the body to play tackle, but they prefer him at the guard spot because people do think he'll be better. Um, Great strength. Does have some stiffness in his lower body. So against speed defenders, that's what he struggles with. That's another reason why they people want to move him to guard, keep him a primary guard. Um, but I mean, having people who line up against him or line up real close to him really helps out well, just because he does have so much strength to him. He's gonna be a guy who's gonna move people, and so I like this as a backup. Nothing crazy, guy you can work with to get better. Drake Nugget, 6'1", 300 pounds, out of Michigan. This is just kind of filling those bodies now, just really trying to get as many bodies as you can on the roster for the position needs you have. And so I went center Drake Nugget. With the pick 195, I went Jaquan Jackson, wide receiver out of Tulane. Tulane didn't have too bad of a passing game. Look, I think this is a guy who can bring some quality depth to the team. And, receiver is a position they do need a little bit of depth at. Now, disclaimer here, I know it says defensive tackle out of Baylor, Gabe Hall, 211. Gabe Hall can be that Brian Brzee style to where he can play that 3-4 edge or that 4-3 defensive tackle. He can play both. But in this case, I'm having him at that 3-4 edge for Jacksonville. This guy I've talked about. Big, huge space eater monster. He's pass rushing is something he needs to work on. But I mean, as a run stopper, as a rotational run stopper, put him in there and you're gonna have some luck. And the last guy I just kind of chose because they need a body at is Nathan Thomas, offensive tackle out of Louisiana. Now, why did I start with the mock draft? Well, like I said before, they can go pick for pick with the positional needs they have. So now with that being said, if you did resign somebody, you kind of now you have the ability to go trade up. You have extra picks, or you can draft for the future. But in this case, I'm not really sure about that. I'm just saying trade up was more likely. They have about 25 million, almost 26. They have $25,742,000 in cap space. That's a lot of money. So as we look at some of the free agents they can sign, it's going to be pretty interesting. They might have to cut some guys short or restructure or rearrange contracts, not restructure, rearrange contracts to make it look good for them. Tampa Bay, where is Jacksonville? Detroit. Oh, here it is, Jacksonville. Okay. So Josh Allen is the guy they're losing. He's going to cost you about $23 million. He's going to $24 million. I don't necessarily know you'd go $24 million this year. You might structure it in a way that if you do that, then hey, you have Josh Allen, and then you immediately just go into the draft instead. Which that's a very viable option. Which I think that is a big possibility. Like Josh Allen is a difference maker for this team. Um, Another guy is Chason out of out of sorry, I'm not out of Chason, who's going to be costing you about $3 million as a backup outside linebacker. This is nice, but the only thing is like you can't really pay anybody unless Josh Allen's willing to take a pay cut this year. And that's kind of the thing is I don't know. Like I'm not with his team. I'm not with Josh Allen's team or in the Jaguars facility. I don't have ears in there. So I can't really say anything on that. But I mean, if you were to kind of take a pay cut this year and kind of push it down for the next couple of years, you could realistically sign a couple more players. Another guy you could be looking out for is Ezra Cleveland, guard. That's something you could also look out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to cost you about $13.5 million, maybe $14 million. He's not a bad guard. But I mean, it's just like things you have to keep up for. Calvin Ridley's another guy. He did have his moments in the Jacksonville offense, but he also didn't have his moments. He did have a couple quiet games. So I could see them not trying to pay him that much money, but also like when he's on, he's on. So it's kind of hard to say which one they would choose. But if I were going with this free agency and I were to kind of pick a player, I'd probably say Josh Allen's the most likely they'd want to resign. So let's say they structured it in a way to where they did have enough cap to sign Josh Allen and then go draft players, because right now they don't have enough cap. Could they release or restructure guys? Yes, but in this case, let's say they do that. Okay, so you're going to this draft. You already have a super big position you need to fill immediately. So that really does change up the draft for not only the first round and the second round, depending on how it falls. So the Jacksonville Jaguars have picked 17 to start out with. Some guys to look at. Keon Coleman's still on the board. You wouldn't go Chop Robinson anymore. I think Keon Coleman's probably your best bet. I know I've drafted Keon Coleman to a couple of these teams. It's just because he just fell here. I honestly do believe like if Keon Coleman, if his starting quarterback didn't go down, he would be up there more. So I'm gonna go Keon Coleman to fix that receiver spot, but they could also go in a lot of different directions. Xavier Worthy, a bunch of different directions. Now that I have Keon Coleman, the entire depth is available. 6'4", 346. I mean, I believe probably Tre'Davious Sweat would probably play that nose for you. I mean, actually, he might. I just don't know if he'd have the speed for the edge. I don't know if that would be his fit. I don't know. He's super athletic. That could be a guy who you could have at the move him to edge. It's just we haven't seen it. That big edge, but we haven't seen it. Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, 6'2", 310. One of the strongest. His one big knack is not excelling in space, but very athletic. He is athletic for his size. He has great hands in both parts of the game, running and passing. I mean, he can anchor well. He is a good center. It's just he does have his limitations. Let's see. Any other guys who I'd probably consider? Probably not. So it's either between Tre'Davious Sweat or Zach Frazier. I'd probably go Sweat and kind of move him to that kind of like that defensive end role and hope he can play that. I'm not really sure. That's the only kind of thing I'm not really comfortable with. I'm not sure if he'd excel at that. I haven't studied that position enough to know. Looking at it next, sorry. There are a bunch of different ways with the third round pick that they could go. They don't need a safety. They don't need really a linebacker. They need more of like an outside linebacker edge. They need a couple of things if I can find. Austin Brooker out of Kansas could be a guy they could go out to fill that outside linebacker role. Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame could be a guy. I think I actually will go Austin Brooker from that backup outside linebacker role. Um, Scrolling back up, see, they could go like I went before, Brandon Coleman out of TCU, big guy. I think I actually might do that. Don't mind how that draft fell. They could also go Malik Washington out of Virginia. But then again, what do you value more? Do you value the interior of your line or the receiving core? Um, Nothing crazy after that. I guess I'd go Brandon Coleman just because of that raw natural ability. And then you actually can go Malik Washington because they have close to back-to-back picks. Um, Malik Washington. So that fills out two spots of guard and receiver. They still need two tackles and a center, depending on how this draft falls. Could go Limmer out of Arkansas. What else could they do? Nothing really else because I don't see a tackle. I think I will go that. Limmer out of Arkansas to fill in that depth at center. That was kind of a fast video. Sorry, I didn't. There really wasn't too much news um, on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have talked about Garrett Greenfield. I've picked him. I guess we'll go Garrett Greenfield for this tackle spot, and then we'll go Nathan Thomas for the next tackle spot. And then for the extra pick, it's an extra pick. Maybe they use a trade up. I don't know. We'll see what they do. I mean, that's kind of a wait and see. But here's just a quick overview of what happened in the draft. Keon Coleman with their first pick, Tre'Davious Sweat to play that 3-4 edge and their defense. Austin Brooker to play the outside linebacker role, the backup. Brandon Coleman to play backup guard. Malik Washington to play backup receiver. Brax Limmer to play offensive center, backup center. Garrett Greenfield to play backup tackle, and Nathan Thomas to play backup tackle. Kind of short, but it's not. They can't really. It just depends on if they do decide to sign Josh Allen. If they do decide to kind of knock out more depth and then kind of let Allen walk and go get a guy and trade up, I could also see that. It's just a bunch of different ways. I don't want to play around with it too much just because it's kind of one of the variable. We'll see what happens. But other than that, thank you all for watching. Tell me, do you think they are going to resign Josh Allen or do you think they're going to let him walk? What do you think is going to happen? Do you like kind of the drafts I kind of come up with them? Or do you think, hey, this player would probably be better in that type of system? Also, what do you think about it? What do you think about how I'm kind of attacking these videos? Let me know. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to y'all next time.